And so my mom and I had left and my brother had left, but he drove separately. And while we were in her car, immediately the devil started working. And I remember that Al called, and I remember the thought crossed my mind that it wasn't God that told me not to be with him. It was actually the devil. And the Lord was trying to stop me from, or the devil was trying to stop me from getting to my blessing. Well, that wasn't of God. I fell for it at that time because Al and I were doing all kind of evil things. And I said his name, but I won't say his last name. We were fornicating, we were drinking, we were doing all kinds of perverted things. But yet and still the devil was trying to convince me that it was the devil that was trying to stop me from being with him. And I fell for it, so I remember calling him and I remember telling him that I would talk to him later because I was just so tired. I felt like I had been physically fighting all day long. And as I was laying there and I had the seat reclined in my mom's car and I was getting ready to doze off, the thought crossed my mind that in 3 more days this will all be over. Again, another random thought, and I didn't understand what it was. Now, the last time I had one of these thoughts was when I had said in a previous segment that my vision will come back to normal the next day. And sure enough, as I had stated in that previous segment, I had stayed up late that day. I believe it was until 4 in the morning. Well, after midnight, my vision became clear all of a sudden. But even though that had happened, and now I'm here on that Thursday, September 20th of 2007, and this thought crosses my mind that in 3 days, this will all be normal. This will all be normal. This will all be gone. Your life will be normal. I still didn't know why I was thinking that. I felt like I was crazy. I had lost all scruples. And so when we got home, I took a sleeping pill and I went to sleep. And when I woke up, my mom gave me a phone number to call. And at this point, I just knew it was a psychiatrist because I wanted to go to the psych ward. My mom had even talked to me and asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. And every time she would ask me, even though I wanted to go myself, something would rise up in me. And I would ask her, "You don't believe me?" And I had turned into a parent who loved my child instead of neglecting her. And I almost looked at her as a source of protection and a means to push forward. And so I remember calling the number because I remember thinking, this is a psychiatrist and I need help. When I called the number, I got a voicemail message and it didn't sound like a hospital or a caretaker or a psychiatrist. And so I went to my mom and I asked her, whose number is this? Who is this person? And so she told me about where she was at during the time I tried to reach her earlier that day. She is a loan officer, so she had a cold call list, and she called this lady, this random lady who she didn't know, for business. And the lady said she was interested in what my mom was offering, and she told my mom that she wanted to meet face to face. When my mom was tired, she had been up the previous night, and the previous nights, I should say, because of everything that was going on. But she decided, against her own will, to go and to meet this lady on the other side of town, about an hour away. And so when my mom was on her way to this lady's house was during the time that my brother and I were trying to get in touch with her, and she didn't get any phone calls. And so when she got to the lady's house, the phone call from my brother finally reached her. And when she got on the phone, he told her that it was happening again with me. And my mom, being desperate for help, turned to these ladies who she didn't know after they asked her what was wrong and confided in them. And I knowing my mom, I believe that my mom was looking for them to reassure her that it was okay to send me to the hospital, to the psych ward. But to her surprise, one of the ladies laughed. And she said, "Whatever you do, don't send her to the hospital." She said, "God is dealing with your daughter." This lady had a testimony of her own years ago that was similar in some ways to my own. And so she told my mom that I could call them, her and her business partner. And so her business partner actually gave me a call back, and she began to speak to me the word of God. And I felt crazy. I didn't understand how this lady could be so happy and cheerful and speak these words I did not understand. But yet, when she spoke, there was a peace on the inside, even though I didn't understand it. And so she told me that I could call, I could talk to her. She was very kind. She made me feel good. And that is what happened on Thursday, September 20th.
Don't know how it is you looked at me and saw the person